Hello, everybody. This is our another sprint update from the Evernym team about our contributions to Hyperledger and Sovrin. And this is going to be a bit different than most because we haven't done as much changes to the code base. We've really been focused on the some events that we were able to do, some trainings. We did the Hyperledger meetup in Belgrade, and that was fun. And then we took that content and we took it to the Bootcamp Russia, and we did training for a couple of days. You can see this is a Hyperledger wiki, the session grid for Moscow. When we came in, we scheduled an entire room for 2 days to talk about identity stuff. And so each one of these, you can see we have posted our slides at the bottom. The slides are in English. The sessions were not recorded. Many of the sessions were in Russian. But we did an overview about what is verifiable credentials, what is identity. We did a discussion about the different Hyperledger identity projects where we talked about Aries, Ursa, and Indy, and discussed the future of each of these projects on a fairly high level. Then Nem did a demo where he showed how to use some of the Aries projects to do cool stuff, like the Aries Cloud Agent Python ACAPI and the Aries Toolbox. And then we did Alex did a detailed look at the Indy ledger. And these slides are super valuable. I think, Alex, it's worth us recording this session in English since you gave it a Russian last time and posting it on YouTube for people. That's something we should probably look at doing at some point in the next few weeks.
Yeah, also we may consider somehow sharing the slides with people, maybe like put some of the information from there into our documentation. Our existing documentation, of course, contains a lot of this stuff, but this kind of presentation can be a good getting started for anyone who wants to contribute to Indy Ledger.
Excellent, good, excellent plan. I think we should do that. And now I should have mentioned, when Nem did his presentation on Aries Cloud Agent Python and the Aries Toolbox, it went pretty well. But the Sovrin Foundation did a training that I was at the last couple of days, and they have done significant improvements to the Aries Toolbox over the last 2 weeks. So even since Nem looked at it last, it's improved quite a bit. And in fact, instead of it being in the Telegram SAM repo, this Sam Curran was the one who started the project, and you can see that they updated it a little while ago. But there's, I think going forward, the official version of this is going to be the one in the Sovrin Foundation Aries Toolbox. You can see this is forked from that one, but it's had significant changes recently. I don't know if it's gone up or, oh, it does look like it contributed back. But anyway, if you've been using the Aries Cloud Agent Toolbox, it's got a lot more features and a lot of fixes even over the last 6 days. So that's something that's changed since we did the boot camp. So those are some useful sessions you'll be interested in. The next day, we talked about the working together to build an application. And this just goes through best practices, the overall steps of how to get things done. When we took people step by step, let's install the CLI, let's get it set up with the Sovrin network, things like that. So it was useful to get hands-on with people. And then in the afternoon, we did a Rust workshop. That was really useful. But we also had 2 sessions on testing distributed systems. Sergey K did, that one's really useful set of slides, and look at identity of things ecosystems. Oh, Nikita, you're missing your slides. Got to get them posted. So but those will be really useful to people to as they look at how to test distributed systems and some of the identity things use cases. That'll be really good. So that content should help people getting started on Aries projects. Of course, one of the biggest values of a Hyperledger event like this was to mix with people working on Fabric and Aroha and learn more about other, there weren't too many Sawtooth people there, but learning more about other Hyperledger projects and exchanging best practices and good ideas, that was really valuable. So I recommend anybody who gets the opportunity to attend the Hyperledger event, you should go. They're our kind of people. It's a lot of fun. Is there anything else we want to say about the bootcamp, Alex or Sergey or Nikki? Anybody else was there, Sergey?
Maybe one thing that we can also mention that it was, well, first of all, it was really very productive 2 days that we learned about other projects, we share our experience and knowledge about indie project. So it was really good. And I believe one of the maybe things that was mentioning that, for example, Hyperledger Fabric, they are another well-known Hyperledger project, they are considering using indie in some use cases. So this is maybe one of collaborations between Hyperledger projects.
Yep, absolutely. That cross-project collaboration is really valuable. So excellent. It was an excellent event. It did take half the team for 2 days plus prep time for like a week. So that was a significant effort for the team. That's what we were focused on. Very good. So we talked about the bootcamp. The rest of the team, we had 2 main focuses, and that is releasing PBFT view change. We'll give you an update on that in a minute. And the Aries, we've been looking at the best way to move forward the Aries project. And there's 2 projects that we were evaluating. The one project, one of the challenges we have is that there's no shared libraries today in Aries. Aries frameworks are, some of them are using indie libraries and some of them are writing their own approaches to the wallet and packing and things like that. Ledger resolution, for instance. And that there's a risk of fragmentation there. There's also, I'm a strong believer in the power of shared code, the open source code where people can collaborate around. I think we'd move faster if we had some shared code bases that we could all leverage together. As an Aries community, we recognize we would like those shared code bases. We'd like to implement them in Rust and follow the indie model, but we want to improve them as we go. Make sure that they're more flexible than the indie ones and match some use cases that indie didn't consider. So we've been in those conversations for 2 months now. We do have a pretty good plan going forward now. We're finally able to really push forward. We've created Aries repositories for these libraries now. And we've started moving some code into them. Specifically, Sergey he factored out in the Indie SDK a crate that just contains what Indie calls the wallet. If you merge that pull request, I forgot.
Yeah, it's merged.
It's merged. So now it generates a separate crate for the wallet. It's pulled together as its own thing instead of being intermixed with libindie. Or now you can use it independent. And now we're in a good position to move that into Aries as its own thing. And so we have a number of new Aries repositories. And that we've recently created an Aries SDK, and we call the wallet, we're calling it agent managed storage, because it's not like a wallet app, it's the storage layer. So that's what we're calling that. We also have Aries, the verifiable data registry interface, which is formerly known as the resolver. And so this is a good place for us to start putting that layer that talks to a backend ledger for resolving data that can be verified. There's some question about Aries Core versus Aries SDK. I like the name Aries Core, but people have also created SDK. We'll see. Probably only one of those 2 will move forward. And then we have the SQLite place for the wallet, the storage, agent managed storage in the Postgres area. And this peer one, we archived that because we decided that peer should be the default implementation in Aries-VDRI. And we created an Indie VDRI Aries. There's some question about whether this should live in Aries or whether it should live in Indie. That's something we need to resolve. So we started creating the scaffolding where we can start building these things. And we do expect to see some progress there. However, the Evernym team is in collaboration with the Aries community, we feel like one of the best things we can do to move things forward is to make sure that the Evernym applications like Connect.me support the Aries protocols. Currently, they support what became the Aries protocols, an early version of the Aries protocols. Evernym created the connection protocol and credential exchange early on, and it's in production with some of our customers. And then Aries improved on what we originally contributed. So we're not compatible anymore with things like the Aries Cloud Agent. So Connect.me uses a Rust library called libVCX, which implements a lot of these things. The Aries community has decided they don't want to do that in Rust. They want to do that in the language libraries, the application tier. So libVCX is likely, it's going to be deprecated. We're going to take a different approach in the future. But we felt after researching it that we can get it done with a reasonable effort to get Connect.me and libVCX to support the new Aries stuff. And then we'll worry about the long-term plan after that. So that's really what we've been focused on the SDK side. And Sergey, would you like to take people through more update? Do you want to share your screen? Or
yeah,
do you want...
I can share my screen, show some stuff. So thank you, Richard. Yeah, as Richard said, NDDK team mainly focused on making the libVCX library compatible to Aries protocols. In particular, we are talking about the issuance and program protocols as the top priority, and of course we need we have to implement Connect or did exchange protocol as well to be able to communicate with third party. The current plan is to put a minimal effort to make libVCX compatible with community agents like Akapai. And at the same time, I would like to reduce the effort as libVCX is something to be deprecated, so it should be a short-term solution. So we decide to not to change everything, but to keep some workflow. For example, we would still use some of the kind of backend. So we can use dummy cloud engine to have an endpoint for mobile edge agent. And it's affect, for example, the information which libVCX based edge agent would send while did exchange. So there is an epic IS 3077. You can see some tasks assigned to the epic, and in the description of the epic, some of them are required, are listed as required for minimum value projects. Some are optional. Also, I'd like to mention that there is a branch in Hyperledger in the SDK main repo. This branch called V6 Aries support. So we would produce some pull requests to this branch for a while. And once we complete this functionality, it will be versioned to master branch and would be released. But you can see the ongoing work in this particular branch. And also I'd like to show some flow, how it would look like. We keep some custom steps, but they would be just internals for third party. So VCX-based agent would make some kind of provisioning steps to make dummy cloud agent or proprietary implementation of the cloud agent aware about upcoming connection, and then VCX-based agent would be able to accept the indentation from everyone compatible with Aries RFCs. On our side, the agency, dummy cloud agents, for example, would process the indentation and route messages appropriately. Also, I'd like to mention that we expect our connection details would use powerful functionality from the did exchange protocol from forwarding. So if anyone in community have limited implementation of the did exchange protocol and for some reason haven't support routing keys in the did exchange flow yet, it's time to support this functionality. It's required by Aries. So, and this functionality must have to be compatible with ConnectMe, for example, or Connect Agent in Sovrin Foundation repo. And I think that's it from my side. All these diagrams are in public, and you can find it in the in this branch. Hey, Richard, you're on mute.
Thank you. That was my key question, was where can people find that diagram? So if you can Slack it to me, I'll put it into the notes for the video too. So that's good. Thank you. We expect this work to complete in November. So that's the timeline we're pushing on. And of course, the other major initiative we've been doing as a team is completing PBFT view change and getting it released. And let's get an update on that. Alex?
Yeah, thank you. So as you know that we've been working on PBFT view change for like 2 or 3 months, and we already had a number of presentations and slides about what is it, how it works, what we are doing, and how we are doing this. So I would like to refer you to previous videos. So today we'll just give you a quick update of what is the current status and what are the expectations. So as you know, we have the whole epic devoted to PBFT view change, and most of the tasks there are done. So I would say now we are in a code complete. So we finished code complete phase, and now we've been doing some debug and more load testing of the new view change. As you can see, we still have some tasks that needs to be done there, but this is rather some edge cases and improvements that can be done later after the first version of PBFT view change. So yes, you can see it. The part of them are planned for the next sprint, and like a couple of them are in the backlog. So all these issues are something not critical, but rather some improvements, enhancements, and so on. What we are doing in this sprint, the main task is 20 to 44. This is a task. This is a task about debugging the current code. So we are doing more load testing. We're analyzing the results of this load testing. We're finishing some cleanup work. And also we're fixing some issues that we see. There is one currently that we're aware of. That is, we already have a pull request that it's about to be fixed soon. And yeah, another task is also this one that's also expected to be done in this sprint. So as for the results of load test, we are still investigating them. There are some degradation in performance that we see, but we are not sure that it's really related to PBFT view change. It can be that it's somehow related to network and ZeroMQ stack, because we also bumped the version of ZeroMQ and did some changes on this level, but we continue the investigation. So I believe the plan is still to have the new view change in the next release, because well, actually it's already enabled in master, and in principle it works. But we'll update you about whether there will be any known issues that worth mentioning in the stable release, or we could recommend it without any exceptions. So that's the status. Yeah.
Thanks for the update, Alex. So sometime next week, we're going to have to. We see in our load testing, our stability testing, that with the new view change, we don't have the problem we saw in the past where under intense load, you see ledger corruption. So the catastrophic scenario we were trying to solve is solved. That's great. But we do see reduced performance. So in a week, if we can't figure out the cause of the performance, we're going to have to decide, do we push this reduced performance one because we have a trade-off right now between performance and a slim chance of something really bad. And we'll make that decision next week in consultation with the Sovrin Foundation and other members of the Indie community. So going forward, we are just going to stay very focused on PBFT view change. We're very focused on libVCX supporting the Aries protocols, and we need to decide about bug fixing. We would like to have a node release with PBFT view change stuff in it. We're not sure. There's very few changes right now in Indie SDK that need to be released in October. So we might postpone that release, skip that release, and just do one in November. That's something we'll decide. And then we need to look at future work, what class of bug fixes we should do. We have a collection of bugs all related to replicas in Indie, in Indie node, and might be easier to just change the way we do replicas, move away from our BFT towards something like Aardvark. We've talked about that on other videos and in other calls. So that's something we're evaluating for the next batch of work in November. We'll keep people updated on what we end up doing. So brief update today. That's where we're at, how we're thinking about the project and what we plan to do over the next couple of weeks. If anybody has questions, do reach out at chat.hyperledger.org, where we hang out in the Indie and Aries channels. And of course, you can see our progress on GitHub and in Jira. We look forward to collaborating with everybody. Anything else we need to say, Alex, Sergey, anything I missed? Okay, I think that's good. Thank you, everybody. And we'll post another video in 2 weeks.